Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Is being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a great...
My goal is not to break you. My goal is to make you harder to break.
Number six.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
Touchdown! 90-yard touchdown!
Off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Sets his feet, takes a shot downfield, has Knighton. Caught! Touchdown! Chargers!
Grab your lunch boxes and go attack this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Training camp is underway. The boys are back on deck. Jim's in his black slacks and his cleats. We're getting closer to week one, day by day. You love it. I love it. Welcome to the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. Gents, it is one of our favourite times of the yearly show cycle. 2024 Opponent Series is here, guys. Welcome to you both. How are we doing?
Good, mate. Good. We finally moved into our brand new home. I'm now a landed gentry, very much like you two. So first home in the books. We're still unpacking and things, but it has been a very, very busy week and a half. But we are all kicking goals here down in Hobart.
It's looking good, man. You've just got to move that screen so we can see the Phillip Rivers bobblehead in the back. There you go. Absolute classic quality present, that one. For the listeners, we gave that to Jack as a birthday present. Probably could have spent a bit more money on it, Andy, but it's looking pretty good.
No, it's the sentimental value of it, Fantastic, Jack. Yeah, congrats on the move and the house. It's awesome. Good to hear you're all doing well. And Al, over to you, mate. I believe you've got some news.
I do. Well, it turns out we're going to have 3 fathers on the pod because Kirsten and I, we're expecting a baby girl to be born on the 17th of November. So Kirsten's 23 weeks, of course. I'll try to keep it secret from some. Some people know, but I can't wait to join the ranks with you guys. Yep.
Amazing. Congratulations. Hashtag Girl Dad.
Hashtag Girl Dad.
Mate.
Looking for the mini-size Chargers Guernseys already, so we're adding another to the family just in time for playoffs and all the good stuff that's headed our way.
Yeah, awesome. Such awesome news. Congratulations to you both, and it's going to be great to welcome the newest member of the TDU family. So, yeah, we wish Kirst all the best throughout the rest of pregnancy, and then, welcoming a baby girl into the world. Fantastic.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, very exciting. Like I said, opponent series. Let's just touch on training camp because that's back. It's just been just shy of a week since the rookies came. Just over a week since the rookies came back, and the big boys had their first day today, US time, in the new team facility, the Bolt in El Segundo. And I got to tell you, it looks pretty snazzy. Don't know if you guys have seen that walkthrough video on the team website, but I see Jack salivating at the gym set up. Al couldn't wait to get himself into the media room and watching all the film, and I'm just marveling at the LED light strips in the change room lockers. I'm like, wow, gone all out. They've done a good job here. I tell you
fantastic.
what.
That's good.
Oh, mate, how long do you take on that one? That's a ripper.
It came to me in the moment, straight away.
That's why he's the host, Jack. That's excellent.
Excellent.
Well, any things of note for you guys? I saw some pretty cool plays on the Instagram story today. What have you seen, Al?
I have seen Oh, don't break my heart. Break your heart. Hey, for a guy who basically did not have any ball production in college, start off your first day of training camp with a pick. But awesome. Looks like he's just the type of guy that you want on your team. Derwin was praising him, saying he's the leader.
Like a
he's
basketball
really
player, Alistair. Come on, I was expecting a basketball analogy. Come on.
Take over.
Rangy, long, very much like Derwin James. Derwin James was like, singing his praises. I thought there was going to be something.
Dunking over the wide receiver. Giving it the old alley-oop as he runs it back to the end zone. Get himself a fine. So that was one thing. The other, just before training camp started, was our mate Chris Harry and Matt Money Smith interviewing Coach Herbert for about 30 odd minutes on the last episode of Chargers Weekly. And he is intense in the best way when he was talking about sitting in the ice bath 33 degrees Fahrenheit. It's like 10, 15 minutes. 10 or 15 minutes. And Money was just, what? Chris Harris like, I spent 10 seconds in there. It was just good content.
On that, Alistair, did you hear today? I never thought I'd be so interested in the scheduling of practice, but what Ben Herbert and Harbaugh are doing in terms of changing up the schedule, so they have almost a full 24 hours in between each session. Derwin James commented on that it's getting them ready to playing at different times on different coasts in different time zones. So it really screams to me that everything is down to the minutia. Even that whole idea of training at different times to get them ready for the season. I mean, I've never, maybe other teams do that and maybe other Chargers organizations and coaches have done that before, but never have we heard it. And dare I say it, the Spanos definitely left their wallet in El Segundo because of it does look like a fantastic training facility. And everyone just seems, Herbert looks jacked, looks big, cracking jokes. And Harbaugh standing up there like the old granddad, just telling stories about his granddad being a brakeman, and training camp feels like coming out of the womb for the first time. Ludicrous statements from Harbaugh up on the stand there. But we love it, don't we?
But he should enjoy it because, like with politicians, you're never more popular as a president than on your first day in office. Use that political capital while you have it. Say all the corny shit you want. Everything you do, people will say, oh, that's going to make this team better. They talk about the differences in the training approaches, Harbaugh versus Staley. Herbert's doing push-ups 30 minutes after training. Right now, we're going to say anything that's different is better. Let's hope it's better when we see it game time. But it's great that football's back, Andy.
Absolutely. And what better way to move into that with checking out the opponents from the NFC South that the Chargers are coming up against in 2024. And look, we'll start from, I guess, the bottom of the whole 32-team pile. The 2-15 Carolina Panthers. The Chargers play away week 2. Now, I found, I'm not gonna sing it all. I don't want to punish you like that, guys. I found this little ode that Dan Morgan had written to Dave Canales. It's by the Dan Morgan cult, and it's called "Don't Fear the Tepper." And it goes a little something like, come on, Davey, don't fear the Tepper. Davey, take my hand, don't fear the Tepper. We'll be able to fly, don't fear the Tepper. Davey, you're the man. And just like Christopher Walken, Dave Canales needs more cowbell. And that's just what he got from Dan Morgan. Now, you got to start somewhere because it was a bit of a shambles every which way you looked at the Panthers team last year. But ins on offense, and there's a lot of them. You're drafting Xavier Legette. You're spending, trading up again. Xavier Legette, versatile wide receiver, local as well from South Carolina.
Can you do the voice?
No accents.
Play on.
We don't do accents. Trade over Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. Rashad Penny is a bit of insurance because, look, you've drafted Jonathan Brooks as well, but he's coming off an ACL. And then on the line, getting rid of Bradley Bozeman. Austin Corbett returns from injury. He shifts across to center. You bring in Robert Hunt on big money from Miami. Damian Lewis, either starting or, good depth at guard as well from Seattle. And Joshua Neiman, very handy backup tackle too, with Taylor Moton and Ike Ekwonu. But it's interesting. Ike, I think, where did I have it? He had 17 sacks given up in his first 2 seasons and really hasn't kind of broken into that round 1 pick 6 kind of fashion. So did a little bit of West Coast style stuff, which is what we're going to see from the Panthers and Dave Canales at college, and maybe moving back into that will help him a little bit more confidence. But yeah, it's yet to be seen. On defense, the team kind of gave it all up to bring in offensive weapons. So there's the loss of Brian Burns and Von Bell, Shaq Griffin. There's some big names there. So I don't know if you're kind of cutting your nose off to spite your face, but Canales wants the offense. He got his cowbell. And how much of an improvement do you think we can see from these guys?
Well, I actually did a little looking into Bryce Young's key metrics over last year. I think it really helps that we have them in week 2 because towards the back end of the season, just a couple of really interesting stats for Bryce Young. He had a horror first year. There's a lot of pressure on him, but he had the coaching situation was not great. That offensive line was pretty terrible. Just his adjusted completion percentage, I should say, remained relatively high throughout the season. I think he's actually quite an accurate thrower, and he had significant highs in week 8 at 80%, and his highest in week 14 at 86.4. His touchdown to interceptions also improved throughout the year. He had 2 TDs and 1 INT in week 16 compared to 1 TD and 2 INTs in week 1. They're not amazing numbers. But again, his actual completion percentage started off strong, dipped a bit, but then started to sort of move around that 65% mark sort of in the back end of the year. So I would expect Bryce Young to take a couple of big leaps. Whether we see those in week 2 or not, I'm yet to sort of believe that. And that's why I'm glad that we've probably got them in week 2 rather than later in the season.
I think this regime probably had one job this offseason, which is, have you made moves that allow a fair evaluation of Bryce Young? I thought last year I'm prepared to give it a mulligan, as we say here in Australia, just basically to erase it and allow him to start again. It was the circumstances around him were poor, as you said, Jack. What they did, as Andy said, was to beef up the guard spots because the guards play was awful last year. Right guard allowed 67 pressures combined last year. They add some weapons, Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette, Jatavian Sanders as a tight end. And you bring in a running back, hopefully to improve the running game. The metrics on Bryce Young, Jack, I thought what was interesting is he was pressured on 40.7% of his dropbacks, and I feel like 35% is that mark you don't want to be above. Above 35, it starts becoming obstructive. And his pressure grade, 30.2 PFF. So under pressure, it was hopeless. When they kept him clean, it was 76.0, which is, a lot of quarterbacks, when they're kept clean, are going to operate 70 plus. But it just shows that the jury's still out on Bryce Young. When he was kept clean, he was adequate. But what do you think, Andy? You've looked into this team. You've seen them make these moves. Do you think this year they've done enough for a fair evaluation of Bryce Young, or there are just still too many gaping holes across this roster?
I think it's a vastly improved offense, 31st ranked offense last year, and I think that they've done a pretty good job. What I think is going to benefit Bryce Young is the change in sort of offensive scheme and maybe moving him around, shifting the pocket a little bit, getting him out in space. Because, like you said, on those intermediate routes is really accurate. I think, will this allow a fair evaluation of him? It's year 2. I don't know, Al, you always say you give a rookie 3 years. So I think if we don't see an improvement, then there's just got to start asking questions. Like if it's a baseline, it is a whole new system and stuff for him to adjust to. I'm not sure of his college career, how many different sort of offensive schemes he ran through, but
do you really think, Andy, that Legette, Mingo, Thielen, Marshall, Johnson, like that to me is kind of like a C plus, maybe B minus. I understand
better than last year anyway.
Yeah, but
he's got the protection and the opportunity to be able to
be accurate,
deliver the ball. So if he can't hit the target, if there's a bunch of drops, then look that.
But
they need to give him a running game. The run game was terrible last year.
But Legette's a burner, right? Deontay Johnson is a burner. Is Thielen going to be healthy? That's the thing. Is Thielen going to be?
The big praise on Legette is that he's incredibly versatile. End arounds, jet sweeps, things like that. So that's sort of a skill set in a key position player that Young did not have last year. 6'1", he's got 4.39 40 speed, so he's quick and he's big, and he offers something that he didn't have last year. So it's just one guy, and he's a rookie. You can't rest everything on that, but look, I think he needs to show improvement this year.
Their defense looks one of the worst in the league. I mean, I feel for Giro Evero, who kept his job. He's one of the only Fangio disciples left, I should say, Giro Evero, who was with him in Denver.
They blocked him from
Staley's
interviewing
mates.
anywhere. They blocked him from interviewing, yeah.
He's well regarded,
he's
but
there.
they're asking him to do a lot with not much. They've let Frankie Louvu was very good last year, goes to the Commanders. They look like they've got real problems. They've got problems.
Year, tied 15th. Yeah, they were good.
Definitely got more out of them than was expected, I thought.
I don't actually mind the linebacker room, to be honest. Shaq Thompson comes back from missing a fair whack of games with injury last year. And I think he's 31, but he's got that experience and that leadership in the middle of the field. Josie Jewell, got to say, underrated and annoying to have in the AFC West. So I'm glad that we'll play him only once this year. Because, he was always a pain in the ass. They've really sort of diminished pass rush, and I think even with the addition of Clowney, improved the run defense more so than the pass rush. Kind of just shifts the focus over. DJ Wonnum, not bad from Minnesota as well, but does it concern you guys? This is an interesting one. Does it concern you that like 3 of their major offensive outs, when we're talking about the offense improving, 3 of the major offensive outs for the Panthers all came to the Chargers?
Yeah, I know. I was wondering who was going to bring that up. We've taken 3 of their players, but maybe with better coaching.
I wrote a post about Bozeman on Stormcloud about how if Bozeman actually didn't have that bad of a year last year comparatively, because he was surrounded by some pretty awful guards and tackles, and if Bozeman plays at the level that he did at Carolina with the players that we have at the Chargers, chances are he's going to be a very, very serviceable, if not top 10 center in the league. Now that's all projections and that's all done through some number crunching. But Hayden Hurst, who knows about that? I think he's going to be employed more as a run blocker than he's going to be catching many balls. So, but yeah, you are right. They're all Chargers now. And DJ Chark, I haven't heard much about him. The jury's still out. So,
I think this sums up the Panthers. I think the highlight of their team is Eddie Pinheiro, the kicker. Apparently went 5 of 5 today, first day of training camp, and a long of 52. Well done, Carolina.
I can safely assume I'm picking that this is going to be a win to the Chargers. Even going to Carolina, it's not going to be too blustery, I hope. And we get the job done in week 2. Win.
There's a couple of things. I think we get the win as well. They will be relatively healthy, and that wide receiver room will have Thielen, I'd say. But it's still full of rookies everywhere. I don't know what Bryce Young is going to be like. I think this is a win, but I don't think it's going to be a walkover. I mean, no games in the NFL are, or there are a couple, but it's the very small percentage that are. It'll be closer than we think, and it might be a bit of a nail biter. But Chargers win.
Yeah, Chargers win. I will predict that this, without going into scores, I think this will be relatively easy. I think they've got a few too many rookies, younger guys, new coach, all that sort of stuff. Inexperienced first-time coach. So, Chargers with a strong win. All right. Second team in the NFC South, I have the New Orleans Saints to start the discourse. Wow. I mean, how does one sum up the New Orleans Saints? Simply like this. The last 3 seasons, they have gone 9-8 with Sean Payton, 7-10, 9-8. Their DVOA last year, offense 17th, defense 15th, special teams 15th, PFF offense 16th. Their quarterback's Derek Carr and their head coach is Dennis Allen. This is the most mid team ever. This is like poor Saints fans. It's like they've been waiting in the doctor's waiting room for their number to be called. Give us some sign of life so I can get out of here around all of these sick underperformers. And the problem is here's what I think their problem is. Their GM has a philosophical approach that he's always trying to win. He's always trying to win now. So they use all of the stuff like void years, restructuring. So they're always in an unhealthy cap position. Looking at their future, they're projected to be $88 million over the cap in 2025. Worst in the NFL, basically. They're paying Carr 50 mil, Lattimore 30 mil, Ramczyk 30 mil, Kamara 30 mil. So what that tells everyone is you're trying to win the Super Bowl this year, basically, because your cap is terrible. But they're not so bad to bottom out because they keep drafting pretty well each year.
Yeah.
So, Jack, I'll throw it to you. So what is this team's future? You can see their roster. I want to get into Derek Carr separately after you've offered some of your own thoughts. But what's this team's future right now when you look at this lineup on screen?
I don't know, and I don't know what the promise to Carr is either. Again, I really like their draft. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry comes in and alongside Lattimore become, I think, a really good cornerback duo that'll be challenging to play against. One of my favorite was Fuanga going there, and their offensive line, they always seem to have decent tackles. Now you've got Ramczyk and you've got Fuanga perhaps at left tackle. You've got McCoy at center. Those are three, maybe not blue chippers, but they're very much in the top ratings as an offensive line. Olave has another year. I think he's primed for a big year as well. Kamara, as long as he stays healthy. Will this team cause damage? I think they will, but will they cause a lot? No. Do they go 8-9 again? Probably. Yeah. So I honestly don't know where. Do they get lucky? Do they get lucky with injuries and have none, where other teams do in the division? But yeah, you're right. They just sort of hover around like a dunny budgie. And if people don't know what that is, a dunny budgie is a very big blowfly that hangs around in the toilet. Hence man. Dunny budgie. So
maybe your toilet.
Got him, yes. Andy, let me ask you off the back of Jack's answer there. So he can't see any cause for optimism. Let me try to sell you. Derek Carr actually had an okay year last year. He finishes with 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. The team basically lost because he shat the bed for this 3-game stretch in the middle of the season. They lose 3 games to the Vikes, Falcons, and Lions. But then in the final 6 games of the season, he gets hot. 15 touchdowns, 3 picks. So he's an interesting quarterback. Looking at his metrics, the ball is out very quick. 3rd quickest time to throw. 3rd lowest big time throw rate. But he was the 3rd lowest pressured as well. Because he gets the ball, he's getting it out short and quick. Very New Orleans. But he said that it was a new system for him. And now we've got a new OC comes in, Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's son. Can this team surprise and not be a middling team, but actually be one of the best NFC teams? Is that in their potential horizon?
In the best NFC teams.
Let's say, can they win the NFC South with 11 wins? Let's say they go 11-6 and actually a really strong NFC team, or is that too much?
Well, 11-6 would certainly win the NFC South. I don't know. See, that's not that far away. If there's a couple of games where 1 or 2 things go their way, had some nice hookups with Rashid Shaheed. Like there's definitely potential for the team. I think it is possible for them to go 10, maybe 10.5 wins on the year. But they always just find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. So maybe there's something culturally wrong. If you're looking for a hole, Jack.
Carr will always play like that when the stakes aren't high. But when the stakes are high, he shits the bed. There's no other way to say it. And he was like that. Other than that one season he had at the Raiders under Coach Del Rio when they were 12-4, and they were playing very, very well. But yeah, and he hates to get hit. That's why he gets it out so quickly. But when he's on. He throws a very pretty deep ball. But I don't think they even come close to coming second in the division. So There you go.
Ooh.
Is
I'll
there,
just add.
Whoa.
Sorry, one minor correction to something Jack said before. Unfortunately, Ryan Ramczyk looks like he might not play this year.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, they've placed him on the reserve PUP list. He's had this lingering knee issue. He's definitely missing the first 4 games of the year, and his season might be over before it begun. So what they're going to do is make Fuanga their left tackle, even though he never played a snap there for Oklahoma State. And old Trevor Penning, who's been a bust so far and was supposed to be a backup tackle, might have to start at right tackle.
Yeah. I was
Because
just
they
about to
lost
ask you
Pete,
that.
didn't they? Yeah, they lost Pete. Yeah.
Yep, they lost Pete. Sorry, Andy, for talking over you. Go on.
No. I was literally just about to ask for clarification on that tackle situation, which could make the getting the ball out quick imperative for them having any success. But look, I like their first 2 picks in the draft.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought QB, but I kind of get it. Nathan Peterman's not a really eye-watering signing, is he? Unless it's tears. And other than that, I don't know too many of the other names on that list. But
I was going to say, Alistair, did you look at Spencer Rattler at all? Because
Sure.
there a couple of years ago he was blue chip, going to go to college, going to be number 1 overall draft pick, but then really fell off the radar. Do you have anything? Because I mean, there's Peterman there. We know Peterman. Oh, it'd be amazing if he was playing. Derwin James had 7 picks by the end of the game. But yeah, Spencer Rattler. Is there any hope there at all?
Yes. If there was one quarterback in this class I would have thrown a dart at beyond the second round, say rounds 3 or beyond, he's the one guy. Jordan Travis from Florida State, I didn't mind, but Spencer Rattler just got better and better each year. He had to move from Oklahoma after being embarrassed. Caleb Williams came across, took his job. So he goes to University of South Carolina, which had less talent. By all accounts, all the coaches there said he never came up with excuses. He was a good teammate, kind of trying to undermine that narrative that was out when he was a high school player. And he just got better each year. Look, he's a 5th round pick, so I don't know if his upside is NFL starter, but I think his upside is definitely long-term backup. And if I was a Saints fan, I would be very pleased with that pick. If Carr got injured, I'd be interested to see what Rattler has to show for himself over Jake Hayner. Yeah, nice. I like the defense too, just before we move on. If you just look at the defense, they still have that. To me, that's one of the best linebacking rooms in the NFL. Pete Werner, Demario Davis, Willie Gay comes across from Kansas City. That's a very good threesome of linebackers. Paulson Adebo had a breakout year at outside corner, and you add Kool-Aid, and Marshawn Lattimore's a potential trade candidate during the year. So that gives you your backup, your kind of reserve to Kool-Aid McKinstry. Tyrann Mathieu has had a complete career resurgence. Gets better.
Playing good football. Yeah, it's amazing.
Really good football. Like he made the
Really
All-Pro
good.
last year. And I thought, when he left the Cardinals to the Texans, he looked like maybe he's not so good, but then he's good for the Chiefs. Now he's good for the Saints. What a fantastic career he's had. So I don't know. There's a bit in them. This is a team that could surprise you. They could win a game. Depends what version of that defense and Derek Carr you get. The Chargers play them at home in week 8. Andy, what do you think the result is of this one, Chargers and Saints?
I think the Chargers are hitting their straps and Derek Carr's in for a mid-season rut. Chargers get the win at home.
I reckon it's a win too. It's a win, and we light Carr up.
What have I predicted? I can't even remember. Yes, I've predicted that the Chargers get a win here. I had an upset, but nah, not to Derek Carr. Sorry, mate. Okay, Chargers win it. On to you, Jack, with the Atlanta Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons. Okay. I've got a little game for us to play, as I always do. I've gone the
standards.
The headlines game. So I'm going to read out a headline. I've got 5 of them, and I've just got some information about that said headline, and then I'm going to fire off a spicy question in either Alistair or your direction, Andy. Okay. And it can be a simple yes, no. You can elaborate on it. It doesn't need to be extended by much, but I'd be interested to hear your opinion. So, Cousins comeback, a Viking reborn in Atlanta. We all know that Kirk signed a 4-year deal worth $180 million, but he is recovering from a torn Achilles. The Falcons were ranked 32nd in the passing game last year, so I would predict that he immediately raises that up to at least in the top half of the league, given his experience. Andy, spicy question number 1. Will Kirk Cousins prove he's worth the $180 million by making the Falcons a playoff team this year? Yes, no, what do you think?
Yes, I think Atlanta will win the division this year with Kirk coming in and being able to utilize that offensive set. Coming off an Achilles, Kirk, if you watch the quarterback series, is a really dedicated guy and would do everything he can to expedite his return. So, yes, I think it will be a Kirk comeback.
Yep, I agree too. I think Kirk Cousins came off looking very good after that series. I really liked him. Okay, Alistair, here's my second headline. Rookie Revolution, Penix Jr. and the Fresh Faces. Selected 8th overall was our friend, Michael Penix. And he was the first FBS player with 4,500 passing yards in 2 consecutive seasons since Patrick Mahomes. Is this guy the next Patrick Mahomes? That wasn't my question, but who knows? We've got Rook 9.5 sacks since 2021 from the DT position. And you've got Braylon Trice, who I thought was also a very good pick down a little later. It was 16 sacks over the past 2 seasons. Obviously, there's been a lot of debate. We've talked about it on the show, whether Penix was a good pick there for the Falcons at 8, given who was on the board. But this is my spicy question. Is Michael Penix Jr. already a better option than a fully healthy Kirk Cousins? What is your answer?
Oh, that is spicy.
No, I think no, he's not. I think he comes into the league very ready to go. He's an experienced player who worked well in that, dare I say it, air raid-ish Ben Grubb system. Loves to sit in the shotgun, get the ball out, 4 wide receivers. I thought he was good, but I didn't think he was perfect. For me, he was the 5th or 6th ranked quarterback in the class. I like JJ McCarthy more. So I do view Kirk Cousins as a top 10 to 12 type of quarterback in the NFL. I don't mind Penix as a prospect. I think it's basically burning the pick. The only this will look good if Kirk Cousins comes back and his Achilles is crap. Penix comes in and he's a starter. It will look good. However, they could have look at their defense, Jack. They could have drafted Quinion Mitchell. They could have drafted Terrion Arnold, and they've given big bucks because with pick 8 the contract is quite high to a backup quarterback who's in his mid-20s. Kirk's better, Jack. Kirk is better.
Okay. All right. Third headline, Mooney, Magic or Mirage? Because this really, when I looked at the numbers of this deal, I was going, wow, did Darnell Mooney actually deserve his $39 million for 3 years? He had 414 receiving yards in 2023, down from 1,055 in 2021. Recovering from a concussion, and he now takes his place in a receiving core with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and you've got Bijan Robinson. He's going to be probably the 4th option on offense, and the 4th option is being paid close to $40 million. Now, I don't know the specifics of the deal, but I looked at that and went, wow, that's quite a lot of money. So, Andy, my question to you is Darnell Mooney poised to become the Falcons' number 1 in receiving yards over Drake London in 2024?
No, he's not. No, absolutely not. You said it yourself. There's heaps of options, and Darnell Mooney, I don't think will usurp Drake London. I'm excited actually to see more Kyle Pitts involved. I think kind of another sort of high first round pick that seems to have been burnt by poor quarterback play over the recent ride. So. No, I don't think so. $13 million a year for a wide receiver. I think most people thought it was quite prudent and not a bad deal at the start of last year for Darnell Mooney. But
I can see it both ways, right? He's a burner, so that serves a function in the overall architecture of the offense. None of the other guys there can run those deep streaks, so that is helpful for an offensive coordinator. Cool. $13 million helpful? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
For a
know. It'll be
decoy.
interesting to see if Kirk can unleash it to him. I just didn't think, and he also, to Mooney's credit, he was a bit of a basket case of an organisation with Justin Fields thrown to him. So who knows? All right, Alistair, the Bijan boost, Atlanta's ground game powerhouse. Bijan ranked 4th among running backs in fantasy football. So if you're into fantasy football, you might want to open your ears. 976 rushing yards, 487 receiving yards, 8 total touchdowns. I think Bijan Robinson is poised for a breakout season and is going to be very, very challenging to stop. But my spicy question to you is, will Bijan Robinson outperform CMC and every other running back in the league this season? Will he be the number 1 running back by year's end? Bijan Robinson. Yes, no, maybe.
What's your definition of that, my friend? Total yards or something? Or just he's the best?
Let's say he's the best.
First team All Pro.
He's the best
damn running back there's ever been. I'm buying your take. Actually, no, I'm not buying that take. I'm buying that he's set for a breakout year. I'm not buying he's going to be the best in the NFL, although he could be, and that is a massive compliment. What I can't believe looking through the data, boys. Artie Smith, what were you doing? You gave Bijan 214 carries. You gave Tyler Algier 186 carries. Now, that's, thunder, lightning, blah, blah. Algier's running at 3.7 yards a carry. Bijan's going at 4.6. Arguably, if you just rode Bijan, you would have had more and more success. I think with a new scheme, and I want to talk about that shortly, Bijan's going to get more opportunities to succeed, and I think he will capitalize on that first-round pedigree, Jack.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he'll be the best in terms of metrics. I think he'll be a great fantasy footballer, but I reckon he'll be in the top 5 running backs. He's very exciting. This last one's for me because I did a little bit of research and I have a hot and spicy take. Linebacker lottery, Ellis, Anderson, and Landman. Caden Ellis, actually, weirdly enough, one of the best linebackers in the league last year. 122 tackles, 4 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. Troy Anderson, very, very athletic, but tore his pectoral, but has a lot of upside. Then you've got Landman that came in for that. 110 tackles, 7 tackles for loss in Anderson's absence. Who? Then you've got they sign or they
what,
draft.
Sorry, what name did you just say?
Nate Landman.
Jesus.
And then you've got and then they draft JD Bertrand. So they've got 4 guys there who I have a feeling, and I guess my question to myself is, can the Falcons linebacker corps not only become the best in the NFC South, but top 3 in the NFL? If they stay healthy, weirdly enough, I think they can. They have some talent at that position with proven, especially in Caden Ellis. I love the way he plays. That middle of the field is going to be an interesting place for the Bolts to plan an attack. That's my spicy take. Really like the Falcons linebacker core.
Love it. Never thought that we were going to deep dive into the linebacker core. I've got a fun little idea as well for the Falcons, and it goes something like this. Green right X, shift to Viper right, 3-8-2 X stick looky. That is John Gruden's play call from Tampa training camp circa 2003. And what I want to talk about is new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson. Bit about his background. Former NFL quarterback. Never threw a ball in the NFL. He spent 4 years with practice squads for various teams. Out of the league, what does he do? He decides to go apply for a job at PFF. And he's a senior analyst at PFF for 6 seasons, from 2014 to 2019, at the same time as Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo were there, Andy, and also Bobby Slowick worked there. And Zach Robinson, I listened to him on Peter Schrager's podcast, spoke about how he spent all those years watching various bits and pieces of college tape, different schemes, different ideas. Then he gets hired by the Rams. McVay hires him. And from 29 to 2023, he's just spent time in that system, working with the quarterbacks, working with the wide receivers, and then being their pass game coordinator. Now, for the Chargers, last year when Brandon Staley was looking for a new offensive coordinator, I just fell short of saying I would take Zach Robinson over Kellen Moore. It made sense at that kind of impasse for Staley to pick Kellen Moore, who's experienced. But I thought, man, Staley, you're the young guy, and you worked in LA, Maybe Zach Robinson is this offensive genius. Give him a go. My question to you, Jack, is do you think Zach Robinson is going to be this year's Bobby Slowick, who in his first year for the Houston Texans as an offensive coordinator in his 30s, gets the team all the way to the division round, gets head coaching interviews? Is Zach Robinson the next hot thing after this season?
Everything is there for him to succeed, right? Quarterback, tick. Gun wide receiver and Drake London, tick. Extremely athletic tight end that has something to prove because he's been underused in his first years in the league, tick. Incredible world-beating talent at running back, tick. Offensive line that's pretty solid, tick. So you're kind of going, okay. You know, you can throw concepts at Kirk Cousins. He will get them. He's not a rookie. You know, Drake, as I said, this whole offense, I feel like this whole organization has something to prove, and he's coming at the exact right time with an analytics background. There's going to be some really fun stuff on the fly, I hope, very much like Mike McDaniel does. I think there's going to be some really weird formation sets, especially when you add Mooney to the mix as well now. Yeah, I'm really excited. The Falcons are really have a soft spot in my heart because I think what they've done offensively looks really fun. So yes, I will buy that. I think whether he gets head coaching jobs, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's built for him, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do, to be honest. Bobby Slowick was really impressive last year. And for the most part, offensive minds under the Shanahan-McVay tree have been pretty successful coming into it. Dave Canales is another one who was under the Shane Waldron branch of things, did a great job in Tampa with Baker, and now he's one step ahead and he's got that head coaching job. I think Zach Robinson, he's got all the pieces on the field, and if he can translate his mind to their output, then absolutely. There's no reason why this offense can't succeed. Defense I'm a little sketchy on, but
what do you think about him? We've barely spoken about the defense. So, apart from Jack's ode to the linebackers,
Linebacker.
Raheem Morris, you know, he's a defensive-minded head coach, has got a pretty good track record, been in the league since the early 2000 Tampa Bay Bucs. He was on that team with John Gruden in 2003. Does he have a chance with his personnel, Andy? They've hit the draft hard.
They have hit the draft hard, but it just sort of foils back to relying on rookies because, Jack, I mean, your stats were great. I don't think it's the strongest linebacking group in the division, maybe second at best. And I think there's a lot of youth in the defense. Long way to come from 24th. I just don't see. There's a couple of pieces. Jesse Bates, not bad. AJ Terrell just needs a little bit more help at corner, and just not overly exciting achieving pieces on the line. So, look, they're in a couple of years' time, sure, with the development of these young guys, but at the moment, they're going to have to put up points, I think.
Yeah, I did a little bit more number crunching, and I actually looked at ways that the Chargers could exploit this defense. And as much as I sang Alice and Landman's praises, they have extremely high percentages allowed over the middle of the field at almost 80%.
You're not telling us now that we should attack their linebackers after that.
That's what I'm doing. I'm keeping you on the toes. That's what a good podcaster does. And they allow a hell of a lot of yak. So I'm looking at QJ, I'm looking at McConkey over the middle. And Andy, just to touch on your AJ Terrell, yeah, he's an okay corner, but he has an extremely high missed tackle rate at almost 20%, sitting at around 17.5. So I'm thinking force him on one-on-one, get him out in space where he doesn't have a lot of help, as you said. And they also lose Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree. You'd think that that's a big loss, but they were actually very poor and had high missed tackle rates as well, hovering around 18 and 16%, and quite low run stop percentages. And one of them now plays for us. Great. So yeah, that defense has some holes in it, which will be fun to see what Herbert can do.
Their first 4 games will tell the story of their season. They've got a torrid start. Steelers week 1, Eagles week 2, Chiefs week 3. Saints week 4. That's a baptism of fire for a whole new staff. Good luck, Kirk Cousins. All right, Andy, start us off. Who's going to win? The Chargers play the Falcons away, week 13. What do you have for this one?
I'm predicting a loss in this game. And that's it. I think their offense will click, and in Atlanta, just something about it.
Jack?
I will go. I will. I predict a loss as well. This is a tough game, and going to Atlanta will be tough. If Kirk isn't at quarterback because of his Achilles, maybe that changes. But now, looking on paper, away, Falcons win.
Wow. I thought I was going out on a limb with this one. I've also gone a loss to the Falcons. There we go. So all of us think week 13, which is pretty deep into the season, that we're going to find ourselves. We all went wins to the other two teams. So we think a loss to the Falcons. All right. Take us home, Andy. Tampa Bay Bucs.
The tiebreaker, and hopefully not casting us as the most boring single-minded predictors out there. 9-8 Bucs really hit it hot at the end of the season last year, knocking off the Eagles, making it to, through to the divisional round before losing to Detroit. A couple of dropped interceptions, costing them dearly in that game. Dave Canales, as we've said, off to Carolina and takes Brad Isdick with him. Idzik? I've
What
said that
dick?
backwards.
Isdick.
Idzik.
Whose?
Your dick?
Brad's. It's Brad's.
Is it? Is it, dummy?
So in steps new offensive coordinator Liam Cohen with quite an interesting backstory. Has spent time at the Rams. He was, forgive me, the offensive coordinator or the quarterback's coach in the year that they had arguably their worst offensive output under McVay. And then he went to Kentucky and had Will Levis. Will Levis hit it hot. It was awesome. Head coach there. Then Will Levis left. Things changed for Liam Cohen. I believe he came back. And yeah, now here he is as the OC for Tampa Bay. And a similar, like we've said, a similar sort of pedigree. So not too much of a schematic shift for Baker. Interesting on him. You notice he seems to sort of uncork it a lot less. I think that shoulder injury that Cleveland sort of made him play through has kind of damaged his cannon that he had that was so dangerous. But I don't think they're... Sorry, pardon me. I don't think that they've done too much in terms of maneuvering on the off season in terms of with the roster. Graham Barton's a great pickup. He'll step into center.
Yeah.
Has great versatility, can sort of play anywhere along the line, but he can develop into a really good guy running that offensive line. Carlton Davis is a guy that they've lost in the defensive backfield, and they just haven't done too much to replace him, to be honest. And there's a lot of reliance on the front guys. Jack, your man, Vita Vea.
Oh yeah,
love him. It's another one of those. What is this sort of defense? Levante Davis, great, but getting a little older. Jamel Dean, he was up there for being a decent cornerback, but I don't know. Zion McCollum and Bryce Hall, just don't know if they're quite good accompaniments to him. How do you see Baker's little renaissance, I guess, from last year translating into the next year under a new system? Do you think he's still got the swag and still got the capability to kind of keep that momentum going, Jack?
Yeah, I definitely think so. If they can find a running game, because Baker did all of that last year without a running game. What are they ranked 32nd in rushing offense and 29th in run blocking? So you got to think that if you move that to the top 20, I think this team moves from sort of a 9-8 to a 10-7. They keep players, they keep Godwin and Mike Evans. I really think that there's enough here on offense. There's enough firepower, and Baker dare I say, I didn't like him as a number one overall pick. I thought it was a bit too much in the sort of like the leader of the Cleveland Browns. There was a lot of pressure put on him. But in this second, well, let's call it the renaissance of Baker, I really like him. I think he's a good leader. And Tampa's kind of perfect for him because he's not the poster boy, but he's got the tools around him that I think he can do okay. Defensively is, again, I think if they're just middling, I think they could be frisky. I really like the Buccaneers, actually. They've done everything. And I think they've added more pieces to make them better from what they were last year, even though there were some, as you said, Andy, there's some departures. Just really quickly before I throw to you, Alistair, I really like Chris Braswell coming in at edge. I think he's going to make an immediate impact. What say you, Alistair?
I'm going to go the other side of the coin on this one. I think the Bucs are a major regression candidate. They made the divisional round last year, so credit where it's due. That's ridiculous. They've made the final 8 teams in the NFL. But I still ask myself, what's the strength of this team? They've got an old conservative defensive head coach. There's not quite a youth movement, but each of those good players, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Levante David, all a year older. So, Baker, who has been a volatile quarterback anyway. So, like last year, he had 26 turnover-worthy plays, 30 big-time throws. That's not what you want. Like, he was quite lucky that he only threw 10 interceptions last year when he, according to PFF anyway, he had 26 turnover-worthy plays. I wonder if this is not a bit of the old Daniel Jones, the next Daniel Jones contract to the NFL, where he has success with Canales, a bit of a breakout, renaissance, as you both said. But now you change OC. He has worked with Liam Cohen briefly in the past, very briefly with the Rams. Different offense. Cohen uses more play action than Canales did. Maybe that suits Baker. He doesn't mind turning his back and kind of chucking it downfield.
I think that suits him.
I think it suits him too, but might it also suit a few more of those turnover-worthy plays? Because he strikes me as a guy who, when he turns, he's got some of those Brett Favre tendencies. He's a bit of a gunslinger. And I just wonder if a few more of those turnover-worthy plays might not result in interceptions this year. And that might be all it takes for suddenly, they're winning more like 7 or 8 games, finishing third in the NFC South, and they're the team that doesn't make it this year. So I'm going to go, we can track it all year, Jack. If you think they're going to kind of double down on what they did last year, I'm going to guess that this is the year we find out that kind of Mayfield played above himself last year and they struggle. That's my prediction. Who knows? Yeah, Andy?
A lot of the focus on Mayfield's success last year was reducing his time to throw, making him more kind of cerebral about what he was doing and, not sort of heaving those turnover-worthy plays, as you've said. On the running backs and that elevating the team, I think, sure, if your running back room plays better, then your offense is better. But I don't know. They didn't
do anything to improve it.
No, that's
they
exactly
drafted
it.
Graham Barton, right? He's a rookie. What else did they do? The interior O-line's still a problem, and the running back is still Rashad White. Yeah,
and I think they've not lifted off that 32nd ranked running or rushing game. Bucky Irving. I liked watching him at Oregon. It's really fun, but will that 5'9", 165 or whatever he is sort of size, that's great once he can get out to the perimeter and out in space. He's like that sort of joystick guy. But I don't know if that's going to translate. So it's probably the worst tight end room in the league with who they've got there. So there's, heavy reliance on, as you said, Al, a year older Mike Evans, a year older Chris Godwin. Luke Godecki was a bit of a breakout last year in tackle. Yep. He's lighter, more athletic, but he can do the job. So he's one of those guys that is against the mold for size, length, all those metrics. Like I said, Vita Vea is Vita Vea. He's incredible. Up there with Dexter Lawrence for best nose tackle in the league. And Kalijah Cansey is great. They do.
He really came on down the stretch too. So maybe.
he's going to be good.
Yep. Not sure about the... Look, Chris Braswell, not a guy that I know too much about, Jack, but I think Yaya Diaby had 9 sacks on debut last year. Is that a flash or is that consistent? Joe Tryon, where you at as a pass rusher? There's good bits and then there's holes. There's just sort of a perforated defense a little bit.
Have to mention Antoine Winfield Jr. as well, who's
of course, and
pretty
adding Jordan
freaky.
Whitehead to the safety room. That's a pretty great safety duo. And they
see, not that bad. I'm telling you, not that bad. And you've got to factor in that you play at Tampa Bay. You've got to factor in the hot, steamy, sometimes wet conditions, the thunderstorms. Sometimes the games are put off. You got to factor that in, and you got to factor the Baker Mayfield effect, the leader, the guy. Yeah, he's going to be slinging it, but he's got arguably a guy that probably hasn't gotten his dues because he's played for Tampa Bay. Mike Evans has got to be one of the best wide receivers of the modern era. Has to be. What is he? Every single year he's played, he's gone over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, NFL record for the most consecutive seasons with 1,000 to start his career, 10 last year.
Incredible player. I know he's a year older, but he plays that game. He's so physically
he was so
strong
good last year.
So
14
so
touchdowns, most in the league.
Godwin is Godwin. I like him.
I think he's slowing down.
Okay, Jack. Question for you then. We don't have to worry about playing in Tampa. We're playing at SoFi in Week 15. Yeah. Do you think that Mike Evans? Well, if you're agreeing that Chris Godwin's aging and slowing down, do you think Mike Evans is enough of Baker Mayfield and him to beat the Chargers defense?
If this was earlier in the year, I'm putting this as a Chargers loss, but because it's so late in the year, I can't. I'd like to think that I'd take Herbert's health, hopefully this year, over Baker Mayfield's, and putting, with both Godwin and Evans out there, I'd think about it, but I'm not sure if by that time you'll only get one of the two. So I'd say that the Chargers win this one. I'd say the Chargers win this one at home.
I'm going to do the same. Chargers win at home. So they go 3-1 in the NFC South.
Yes. I too agree. 3-1 in the NFC South, taking the win over the Bucs. And yeah, like I said, I think Atlanta Falcons will be the team to beat in the NFC South this year. I just think they've done, you're right, so long as Kirk returns, which I think he will, he'll do everything he can too. If Aaron Rodgers can, fix his up real quick, smoking tea or whatever he does, I'm sure Kirk and the big man upstairs will get him through.
Should we do like who? Because could we do like a ranking of the NFC South, like who's going to finish first, second, third, fourth?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll go first. I would say Atlanta Falcons first, Tampa Bay second, New Orleans third, Carolina fourth.
I will say, Falcons first, Saints second, both of them making the playoffs. Bucs third, Panthers fourth, neither making the playoffs.
Both the Saints and the Falcons making the playoffs. Okay, that's a fun landscape. I think Falcons, Saints, Bucs, Panthers, but just the Falcons. Yeah, still think the NFC South's only worthy of one playoff participant, and maybe not top 8 finishes like the Bucs were last year. That was an overachievement. But yeah, there you go. What do we got? What do we got on next week, Al?
At this stage, if we don't have a guest this weekend, which stay tuned, who knows, we will be looking at the AFC North, a rugged division full of rivals, and a hardball.
That's a hardball and some rat bags. It's gonna be a spicy one. Good fun to get through. Hopefully we have a guest, but we'll see how we go. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time on the Thunder Down Under.
Bye.
Bye.
quarterback pedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it. Zigzag. 10, 5, high step. Touchdown. San Diego.
Good night! Good night to all!